So welcome everybody. We're glad to have you here today. Myself and Jen are here. We're part of the project I'm Still Me with Brella Community Services, and we're excited that you were able to join us. I would like to start with the land acknowledgement for the city of Surrey. We acknowledge the traditional territories of the Semiahmoo, Katzie, Coquitlam, Kwantlen, Quaquot, and Tawaslin First Nations, where we live, work, and play. So I suppose we start off with the truths and misconceptions. Dementia is one of the most common misconceptions is that dementia is an inevitable consequence of getting older. While age is a risk factor for developing dementia, it is not a normal part of the aging process. Many older adults maintain their cognitive abilities and do not experience dementia. Dementia is a neurodegenerative disorder caused by various underlying conditions, such as Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, or frontotemporal dementia. So the misconception that dementia is a normal part of aging is prevalent and can lead to misunderstandings and unnecessary fear among older adults and their families. It is crucial that we dispel this myth and understand the distinction between normal aging-related changes and the pathological process of dementia. And here's why dementia should not be considered a normal part of aging. So if we look at the slide, dementia is a group of symptoms that affects a person's thinking, memory, and social abilities. It is caused by physical changes in the brain, and it is not a normal part of aging. So as people age, it is natural to experience some changes in cognitive ability, such as a slightly slower processing speed or occasional memory lapses. These changes, often referred to as age-related cognitive decline, are considered a normal part of aging and do not significantly influence your daily functioning. It is essential to recognize that these mild changes are distinct from the severe cognitive impairments that are characteristic of dementia. So dementia is not an inevitable part of aging. Many older adults are able to maintain their abilities and do not experience dementia, despite it being a risk factor for developing the disorder. Dementia is caused, and we've talked about Alzheimer's, which is 65% of all dementias that are diagnosed in Canada. Vascular dementia being the second highest, Lewy body or frontotemporal dementia. So maintaining cognitive abilities as we age. So healthy lifestyle. So I'm hoping that we're all eating a balanced diet, exercising regularly, and getting enough sleep can help maintain our cognitive abilities and also our reserve. Intellectual stimulating activities such as reading, playing games, learning new skills, and helping to keep your mind sharp. And positive social interactions. So having meaningful get-togethers with friends and family and chatting can support this as well. So socialization is probably the top one as we deal with dementia. So by taking steps to maintain a healthy lifestyle, engage in intellectually stimulating activities, and building a positive social network, older adults can preserve their cognitive abilities. Neurodegenerative disorder. Dementia is not a natural consequence of aging, but rather a neurodegenerative disorder caused by specific underlying conditions. Alzheimer's disease, the most common cause of dementia, involves the progressive accumulation of abnormal proteins in the brain, leading to neuronal damage and cognitive decline. Other types of dementia, such as vascular dementia, results from reduced blood flow to the brain, and Lewy body dementia and frontotemporal dementia have distinct pathological features. So if we look at normal decline versus severe impairment, cognitive variability in aging is a normal part of the aging process and can include changes such as slower processing, occasional memory lapses. However, these changes are distinct from the severe cognitive impairments associated with dementia. So if we look at the graph, we can see from 40 to 65 and on to 90, and normal aging, mild cognitive impairment, and then abnormal aging when dementia affects the brain. While age is a significant risk factor for developing dementia, it does not mean that everyone will experience dementia as they get older. The risk of dementia is influenced by a combination of genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors. Some individuals may have a higher genetic predisposition to certain types, while others have protective factors that reduce the risk. So research shows us that 95% is sporadic, 5% is familial, but of that 5%, only 1% inherit an APOE4 gene, which you can be tested for. And this usually results in early onset Alzheimer's disease. So the impact of early detection, and that's what we're really here to push today. Recognizing dementia as a pathological condition and not a normal part of aging is crucial for early detection and intervention. Early diagnosis allows for timely access to medical care, support services, and potential treatments that can manage symptoms and improve the individual's quality of life. Dementia is not a normal part of the aging. Recognizing the distinction and understanding the difference between age-related cognitive changes and dementia is essential for understanding the condition and promoting within your, friend group, your social connections, your, local community centre, speaking about this, encouraging a proactive approach to brain health and seeking medical attention for any concerning cognitive changes can contribute to better outcomes for individuals at risk of living with dementia. So it's creating that ripple effect, being aware that early diagnosis is key, because when one person is diagnosed with dementia, it affects family, friends, the community at large. So understanding and being accepted, doing away with stigma and biases, we can certainly help to create a more dementia-friendly community, which is really at the forefront of the I'm Still Me project. So dementia is a serious neurodegenerative disorder that can have a detrimental impact on individuals and their families and the community at large. So memory loss is not the only symptom. While memory loss is a hallmark symptom of dementia, it is not the only one. Dementia encompasses a range of cognitive impairments, including difficulties with language, problem solving, decision-making, and spatial awareness. One that's maybe sometimes underplayed, spatial awareness of where objects are, because we have the occipital lobe at the rear and the base of the brain, and this can make it very difficult for items to be seen or understood exactly how near or far they are from a person. Personality changes, mood swings, and behavioral disturbances are also common in some forms of dementia. And each type of dementia may present with a unique set of symptoms, and the progression can vary from person to person. So we look at the risks of dementia and the different percentages. So as you can see, the genetic factor is quite small. And that's that 5% with that 1% familial inherited gene. Environmental factors, and then lifestyle. So we see that lifestyle is taking up the majority of that grid. So how wonderful is that to know that we can from today. If we're listening, we can change our lifestyle today. So healthy eating, nutrition, getting out in the air, drinking enough water, social time. So those are those different factors. So genetics, we can't change. Environmental, hopefully we can. But lifestyle from today, yes, we can certainly we can change that, which is wonderful. So we do have that power. So memory loss is often associated with dementia, and while it is prominent as an early sign, it is essential to recognize that dementia encompasses a wide range of cognitive impairments and behavioral changes. Understanding the diverse symptoms associated with dementia is crucial for early detection. So we're going to have a look now and an explanation of in-depth symptoms of dementia. So the benefits we already talked about of early detection. It's a pathological condition, not a normal part of aging. So again, let's get out there, let's talk about it, let's share what we've learned here today. Early diagnosis allows for timely access to medical care, support services, treatments, peer-to-peer support, resources that are available out in your community. And then we can manage those symptoms and improve the individual's quality of life. So a diagnosis of dementia does not mean an end of life. Throughout our lifetime, we have to change and morph maybe over, certain periods of times when things change in our life. So this is a change. This is a side road that maybe we don't choose to take, but it's still a road we can still map out as well as possible, and we can improve our quality of life. So preserving cognitive function in aging adults. So we will talk about a healthy lifestyle, eating a balanced diet, exercising regularly, and getting enough sleep can help maintain cognitive abilities. And I know sleep health is something that we have talked about. I know when I talk to seniors, they say, oh, I only sleep for 4 hours at night, but I nap on the sofa for an hour in the afternoon. And, that's okay. You don't need to try and stay awake. If a nap in the afternoon, as we call it, a cat nap, works for you, then do it, because it's great to maintain your cognitive ability, because when we're tired, it's harder to function. Intellectual stimulating activities. Activities such as reading, playing games, and learning new skills can help to keep your mind sharp. So it's about pushing yourself, with the crossword, with Sudoku, with reading. A lot of the times I say read Shakespeare. It's not something that is an everyday read, but it keeps your mind sharp and it builds new connections. And then one of the most important is that positive social network, having meaningful relationships with family. And if family aren't near, then make some new friends, join a group, join a book club. Therefore, you're reading and you're also being engaged with other people. And talking to friends can help to reduce your stress. We always say a problem shared is a problem halved. And it will help you to increase, your mental health. You walk away feeling a little bit better. And then if we go back to lifestyle, that in turn will help us to sleep better at night because we're not worrying about things. So by taking steps to maintain a healthy lifestyle, engage in stimulating activities, and build a positive social network, older adults can preserve their cognitive abilities and also create a little bit of reserve. So now we're going to talk about the impact of memory loss in the dementia. The progression of dementia can be a source of great apprehension for those affected by it and the associated memory loss. And as the condition advances, individuals may have difficulty remembering even the most momentous life events. So memory impairment is the hallmark of dementia, and I think what a lot of us think about when we hear people with a diagnosis, particularly in Alzheimer's disease. Individuals may have difficulty remembering recent events, appointments, conversations they've had with people. They may repeatedly ask the same questions or struggle to recall familiar names or faces. As dementia progresses, long-term memory may also be affected, leading to difficulties remembering significant life events or significant people in their lives. Another part of that with dementia is language difficulties. Individuals with dementia may experience difficulties with language and communication. They may struggle to find the right words or to express themselves clearly. Understanding and following conversations may and can become very challenging. As the condition advances, individuals may have difficulty understanding written or spoken language, leading to further communication problems. Also, with language, if English has not been the person's first language, and we know we are a very diverse community here in Canada, so what they may do is they may go back to their mother tongue. Impaired problem solving and decision making is also another part of dementia. So dementia can impact an individual's ability to solve problems or make decisions. Tasks that once seemed straightforward, such as managing finances, planning of a daily routine, may become overwhelming and very confusing. Problem-solving abilities may progressively decline, affecting the individual's independence and ability to perform daily tasks. And then we talk about spatial and visual impairments. Some types of dementia, such as Lewy body dementia, can lead to spatial and visual impairments. Individuals may have problems judging distances or perceiving objects in their environment correctly. And of course, this can increase the risks of falls and tripping hazards within their home environment or when they're out in the community. Personality changes is another part of dementia. It can cause significant changes in an individual's personality and behavior. They may become apathetic, so they don't care, withdrawn, or exhibit increased irritability and agitation. Personality changes can impact social interactions and relationships with family and friend. So again, this is why we're here today, to understand the impacts of dementia, to be more empathetic, to be more understanding, and to have that knowledge base so that we can support people living with dementia. Another part is mood swings and emotional instability. Emotional changes are common in individuals with dementia. They may experience mood swings, sudden outbursts of emotion, or episodes of depression or anxiety. Emotional instability can make it challenging to manage and understand their feelings and reactions. And disorientation and confusion. Individuals with dementia may become disorientated or confused, especially in unfamiliar environments. They may struggle to recognize familiar places or people, and this leads to increased feelings of anxiety and fear. And loss of initiative and interest, because remember, these people are now not processing like they used to. So all of these changes are very difficult. So a decrease in motivation and loss of interest in previously enjoyed activities is common in dementia, because again, we're now understanding that it's more difficult for them to put things in order, see how maybe a game of cards or, a game of pool, how it's played. So that can be it can be easier to isolate oneself. Individuals may become passive and show lack of initiative in engaging in social or leisure activities because they feel that they're not able. And difficulty with self-care. As dementia progresses, individuals may struggle with self-care tasks such as dressing, bathing, eating. They may require assistance and supervision to maintain their personal hygiene and nutritional needs. So it is important to note that the specific symptoms of dementia, they can vary depending on the type of dementia and the individual's unique characteristics, because it's important to remember that we are all unique. If you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia. Different types of dementia, such as Alzheimer's, vascular, Lewy body, and frontotemporal dementia, may present with distinct patterns of cognitive decline and behavioral changes, but it is an individual journey. Memory loss is a hallmark symptom of dementia, but the condition encompasses a wide range of cognitive impairments, personality, behavioral disturbances. So that's why early recognition and diagnosis is key, and talking to friends and family about dementia and what resources are out there and early diagnosis. A comprehensive evaluation by healthcare professionals is essential to accurate diagnosis and the development of tailored care plans that address the specific needs of those affected by dementia. So exploring language difficulties. So here we can see where we have, I often think of when I see the tree, or when I talk about, if you leave a cauliflower out in the sun on your countertop in the kitchen, that you can see the connections that were tight overnight, they have moved away. So there are still some connections, but some fade away, and we know it's a progressive disease. So people living with dementia will have communication problems as the condition progresses. They may struggle to understand, they may have read the newspaper every day, and suddenly you see flicking through pages because they actually can't read what's on that page or at all. I often think of it, it just runs. It's like pouring out molasses and it just runs into the other. So it's really important to understand that somebody who may have read the newspaper can't read the newspaper anymore. So how can we support them? And I know the things I've used in the past is audiobooks, audio newspapers. So your local library is an absolutely wonderful resource for things like that. So that's why we talk about support and adaptation and non-verbal means. So think about that today, of maybe somebody that you know, and how you could support them if they're not actually reading anymore and they are non-verbal. There are other ways that we can adapt to support them. So impaired problem solving and decision making. So you might find that they have a short fuse, but they're unable to make those decisions anymore. So if we look at this picture and we talk about spatial awareness and visual impairments, I can see that there are 4 lamps that should be clear, but imagine if you were looking at the world like this and things are blurred, and you're not sure, you want to lean your hand on something, but you're not actually sure where that object starts. So those are what spatial and visual impairments look like. And that's why the built environment is so important. When you see steps, you hopefully see those yellow lines drawn on the end of the step. So that's for people with visual impairment, but it also works for people who have maybe spatial and visual impairments because they're living with dementia. So again, look at that built environment when you're out and about and see where improvements can be made, and talk to local planners if you see something that maybe doesn't have a railing or doesn't have these yellow stripes. Be an advocate for yourself and for others living in your community. So that's an understanding of that. And personality changes. This can happen when we talk about people living with dementia, maybe unmet needs. Maybe they have a headache, maybe they're thirsty, maybe they can't tell you. And sometimes people will say, oh, they've gotten very aggressive with the disease. It's the disease that causes these changes. So watch out for those and see how you can help to mitigate, see how you can help to sit and understand what exactly is going on and what support they need. And it's not always simple. but look back maybe at past things where they've had backaches, arthritis, rheumatism. Maybe they're in pain and they're not able to tell you. So mood swings and emotional instability. They are common because when someone is first diagnosed, they do go through that grief process of denial. The doctor's made a mistake. There's nothing wrong with me. So they are emotionally charged, and that can be difficult for loved ones and friends and the community at large. But again, this is a life-changing progressive disease. So empathy and kindness are what's needed when these mood swings and this kind of emotional instability it happens. So again, think of ways that you can support, look for resources, do Google search. You can definitely get 10 tips for when somebody is having outbursts and how to calm them, sit them in a quiet place. So again, tips and tricks to support with this. And then disorientation and confusion. So we've talked about this. They may not be able to remember, conversations they've just had with a friend that you met at the local store. The thing is to connect with the person and not to correct them, because by saying, but you just saw and you just did, all you're doing is, building your blood pressure up and creating more confusion and upset for the person who is living with cognitive impairments. So connect and don't correct. And the other thing is live their reality for that time, because that is their reality. And loss of initiative and interest. So with a diagnosis, any life-changing diagnosis, not with dementia, it might be diabetes, it might be cancer, it might be all of those different progressive diseases, motor neuron disease. It's easy to step back and think, well, that's it, life is over, what's the point? I feel like giving up. There's no cure, so it's almost, sitting in that dark place with the person and saying, I have no words, I have no magic wand, I wish I did, but we're in it now. So sometimes it really is sitting in silence until you're ready to speak, and then coming up with ideas, things that you can do together. Embrace people's abilities, and that's for everybody in life. Embrace people's abilities and work with that. So difficulty with self-care, and this does happen as we progress with the disease. So even remembering how to hold a toothbrush, and an example is, people will say, I'll get an electric toothbrush for my partner, that will work much better. Your partner hasn't grown up with an electric toothbrush. So what you thought may have helped, because I've had this with somebody that I supported. So go back to your regular standard toothbrush, and you can use the hand-on-hand technique, where if somebody has their toothbrush, you will hold their hand and you will brush teeth with them. So that hand on hand, if they will allow it, is great. When it comes to personal care and not wanting to shower, again, if they were a music lover, put on their favorite music, light some scented candles, make it a nice experience to shower. And if you don't succeed the first time, that's okay. Because remember, this person was used to showering, bathing, washing, choosing their own clothes. So it's a huge change for them and their care partner or the caregiver that comes in. So you have to mend and bend and see what works. But if you fail the first time, that's okay. If you fail the second time, that's okay. But go back and think of ways to invite them in to shower or to bathe, and it will work eventually. So understanding dementia causes and consequences. Dementia is a serious condition that affects millions of people around the world, and it is caused by underlying conditions and not simply by aging, because as we've said, dementia is not a normal part of aging. But misconception can lead to a sense of hopelessness for individuals diagnosed with dementia and also their family and caregivers. While there is no cure for most type of dementia, early detection and intervention can help to manage the symptoms and improve the individual's quality of life. Some medications and therapies can alleviate certain symptoms that help to promote individual independence, making it essential to and helping those to seek medical attention as soon as they notice cognitive decline. So it's through education pieces like this that we learn to understand and recognize things that are maybe not a normal part of aging. So the misconception that dementia is untreatable and irreversible can have profound emotional and psychological implications for individuals diagnosed, for the individual and their family. While it is true there is currently no cure for most types of dementia, it is crucial to emphasize the importance of early detection, intervention, and ongoing management to improve the overall well-being and quality of life for those affected by dementia. And here is an in-depth explanation of why this misconception needs to be challenged. So, early detection and intervention allows healthcare professionals to implement appropriate interventions and treatments promptly. While the underlying causes of dementia are not reversible, early intervention can and does help manage symptoms, provide support, and enhance the individual's cognitive function and their independence. And this can lead to improved quality of life for not only the individuals with dementia, but also their families, the caregivers that come in, and the community at large. I had a wonderful man, Max. He would play at our Alzheimer's cafes. He went to his local cafe in downtown Vancouver that he'd gone to for many years. And when he had a diagnosis, he felt comfortable enough to go to that coffee shop and say, I've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. So if I'm a little bit off, he said, please understand. And the reaction was overwhelming that Max was part of that community, part of the fabric of the coffee shop. And he remained a constant customer of theirs right up until he passed away. So there is acceptance and understanding if we reach out, for sure. Medications and therapy, although dementia cannot be cured, certain medications and therapies can help to alleviate specific symptoms and improve cognitive function. For example, medications can be prescribed to manage memory loss, mood disturbances, or sleep disturbances, and non-pharmacological interventions such as cognitive stimulation therapies, physical exercise, art and music therapy, and I want to add pet therapy to that too. All of those different therapies that are non-pharmacological, but if you see, the thing they have in common is that social interaction, and they can contribute to maintaining cognitive abilities and overall well-being. So by taking part in activities with other people, enjoying your favorite music at home, having a dance in the kitchen, all of these things, can help our brain to be stimulated and to stave off the decline. Supportive care. Dementia care also involves comprehensive and an individualized approach. As I said, we are all individuals. So it's not a blanket, here's the book of what we're going to do now. It's individualized and person-centered care. So individualized approach for physical, emotional, and social needs of individuals with dementia is so important. A supportive environment, along with appropriate caregiving and assistance, can significantly enhance the quality of life and ensure that the person living with dementia is treated with dignity and respect. So if we are engaging the services of caregivers to come into our home, the question to ask is, do you understand dementia? Have you had any training? And if not, please refer them on to Brella I'm Still Me. Maybe ask them to sit through the series of presentations, because a caregiver, you know, is fundamentally an empathetic person, has chosen to work in that field, but may not be familiar with dementia. So what better way than to promote this project and to let them know about the different presentations we have, to better serve and to be better equipped to serve your loved one by sitting through these trainings. Research has shown that early intervention and lifestyle modifications can potentially slow down the progression of certain types of dementias, and not all. Adopting a brain healthy lifestyle, including regular exercise, 10 minutes out in the fresh air will reset you for the day. If you can't go out, when I speak to some seniors who are immobile, 10-15 minutes of chair yoga, you know, you can get them on your TV and watch it. You're increasing oxygenation to the brain by 30% by doing 15 minutes of exercise while still sitting in your chair. Adopting that balanced diet, mental stimulation, and social engagement. And if you can't leave your home, social engagement could be a call with a friend. It could even be a support line. There are lots of telephone support lines available within the Lower Mainland. So you are helping to preserve your cognitive function and delay the advancement of your symptoms. And clinical trials are another great thing to keep an eye out for. So ongoing research and clinical trials offer hope, and I've always filled with hope for the future for dementia treatment and prevention. By participating in research studies, individuals with dementia and their families contribute to the development of new treatments and better understanding of the condition. And emotional support. Challenging the misconception of dementia being untreatable is crucial for providing psychological and emotional support for those facing a diagnosis of dementia. Empowering them with knowledge about available treatments and intervention can foster a sense of hope, leading to a more positive outlook and coping strategies. Because where there's hope, was an old saying, where there's hope, there's life. And we as humans live with hope. Yes, we get knocked down and maybe life hasn't been the way, you know, we'd mapped it out and thought life was going to be. But there is hope, there is research. So I would encourage you to look at, you know, clinical trials and research, because not only are you helping your loved one, but you're also helping people in the future with diagnosis of dementia. So dementia is caused by a variety, and we've talked about the different Alzheimer's being the most prevalent at 65%. Vascular dementia we see with a lot of people who have maybe had heart issues, cardiac arrests. You know, we talk about mini strokes, transient ischemic attacks, which are called TIAs. Lewy bodies are another one that attaches to a different part of the brain. So the receptors are dulled. So I almost think like an electric current or a plug, where it becomes tarnished and degrades over time. And frontotemporal lobe dementia is with functioning, and it's almost like the library for creating long-term memory. So here we are. So at least 35% of dementia risk may be within our control, the healthier you are. So again, Korsakoff is from alcohol abuse over many years. That is avoidable. So, and the other thing that came out of the Alzheimer's Dementia International 2023 survey, you will see hearing loss here is huge, and they talk extensively about hearing loss and the prevalence of people being diagnosed with dementia. So again, I would encourage you, hearing tests, I believe, are free, and there is a company in downtown Vancouver that do recycle hearing aids, so that, because they are very expensive, there is a way to get hearing aids without having to spend those thousands of dollars. So again, hearing loss is huge. So I do wear 2 hearing aids, and I would encourage people to go and have their hearing. Again, education, we look at that plays a huge factor, but you're never too old to learn, whether it's a hobby or something that we're engaged in. So, we're not asking everyone to have a PhD, but do go out and learn something maybe that you're passionate about. Again, smoking, this we see a lot with vascular dementia, because smoking can cause sluggish blood flow within the body. So again, if you can try to get there's smoking cessation programs available, whether you go on to patches or you even try to cut down, it's never too late. Depression, again, is another factor. Again, go and talk to your GP if you're hopefully lucky enough to have one. Physical inactivity. We can do that, as I said, sitting in our chair 15 minutes, we're going to get 30% more oxygen to the brain. High blood pressure. I don't know anyone in my circle of friends who's not on a blood pressure medication. So again, you can have this checked with your doctor. Social isolation, I'm surprised it's only 2%, but this plays a huge part. Diabetes, again, thankfully, it's a manageable thing. And obesity, we all have an extra few pounds on us, but we can change small things in our diet. I'm not asking you to change everything and suddenly eat lettuce leaves, but you can have a look and you can swap things out. Genetics here, it has 7%. So my bad, I know I said 5%. That was what I thought was the latest research, but I'm stand corrected. It says 7% genetics, but it's still only that 1% for early onset, that familial gene of APOE4. And then age plays a factor in it. If over the age of 85, I think was the latest research that I did read this week. So the power of early detection, and again, I can't stress this enough, and this is why speaking about it is so important. So there isn't that stigma attached, that isn't that withdrawing from society. We all should be able to live, work, play, and reside in our local communities. So recognizing dementia as a pathological early diagnosis, so important for all the support services that can be put in place, and also supports you in coming to terms with a life-changing diagnosis. It gives you time to join support groups, peer-to-peer, to be able to get out and talk about it, either as the person with the diagnosis or as a care partner, because life is going to change, but it doesn't have to be depressing and life is over. It's not. Life is giving you a different path, and we need to embrace it, and work with the individual's quality of life, while also supporting the care partner and educating the community at large. So individuals may have different types of risks for developing dementia, depending on their genetic makeup, their lifestyle and environment. While age is a significant factor over the age of 85, when we are living longer, there are other factors that can influence the risk of developing dementia. So memory loss, hallmark symptom of dementia, it is the most common factor when we look at it. Language difficulties, again, as I said, we are multicultural, and lucky to be so in Canada, but we might find that people whose first language isn't English, they may revert to their mother tongue. So those language difficulties may present themselves. Difficulties with problem solving are also common in dementia, and personality changes and mood swings are also common. But again, remember that this person's life has changed. It's like their wiring has been changed, and it will remain changed. So it's empathy and kindness, understanding, connecting, not continuously correcting, and living in their reality once it is not harmful to them. If you or your loved one who's living with a diagnosis of dementia puts themselves or yourselves in harm's way, then you do need to seek urgent support. So it's a complex condition that can present with a range of cognitive, behavioral, and emotional symptoms. Memory loss is only one of the many, many symptoms associated with dementia, and the progression can vary from person to person. As I say, we are all individuals. What may work for me may not work for somebody else. Spatial and visual impairments are very difficult. Again, I supported someone and she said their husband was continuously knocking over, the glasses of water she was giving him. The food was spilling on his shirt as he was eating. So we had to dig a little bit deeper. She became annoyed because she thought, my God, like why? But we have to understand that spatial and visual impairments can be part of that cognitive decline, as well as personality changes, mood swings, emotional instability, disorientation and confusion, and loss of initiative and interest, because their life has changed immeasurably, and maybe they feel that what's the point, why take part? So that's where we need to support them. That's where maybe you talk to your GP or your gerontologist. Again, there are non-pharmacological as well as pharmacological. And if I can just go back to the spatial and visual impairments that I spoke about, and the gentleman knocking into the coffee table and not getting his food to where it should be. Again, for food, when people are living with those spatial impairments, it's important to get brightly colored plates. So you can look up Boston University, the Red Plate Project. So I would say, buy a brightly colored orange, red, bright yellow plates. You can buy modified forks, so they actually are a fork, so rather than being straight like this, they actually have a bend, and they're on like a ball and socket, so that it is easier even if the person is shaking or unsure. They found that the uptake of eating way improved. And again, for those coffee tables, you can buy edges that you put on them that are red, yellow, or brightly colored. Just some little things that you can modify to support that person with spatial and visual impairments. So early detection and intervention can help. We've talked about that. Medications or non-pharmacological or recreation therapists. And I was also an art therapist, and these are therapies that we have seen on the ground working with person-centered care. And it's important to seek medical attention as soon as you noted cognitive change. So again, doing away with stigma and misconceptions that, oh, this is it, my life is over, by speaking about it and by going for those early interventions. It's so, so important. Medicine, supportive care, there is potential to slow progression. I talked about clinical trials and research, and I know that when you're a full-time caregiver, you're thinking, oh my God, clinical trials and research, I can't take any more on my plate. But there will be a lot of support with the trials and the research and hints and tips, and you will learn. And it's also another way to build your peer-to-peer support group. So it can really be very good, although it may sound overwhelming to some of you. And also psychological and emotional support. So again, caregiver support. I know the Alzheimer's Society of BC do Minds in Motion, which is for the person living with Alzheimer's, and also for the caregiver to go. Again, a great way to make connections, to talk, to make new friends who are on a similar journey, because remember, it's a unique journey for everybody. But time to sit down, do some exercises, have a cup of tea, and maybe, a small treat together, and maybe, commit to maybe going for short walks in your local area together, or having lunches out together. This is all supportive and good way to stay connected when you've had a diagnosis. So dementia is not a normal part of aging, but it is a common condition in older adults. And that's over the age of 85 is more so because we're living longer, but it's not a normal part of aging. And I always say to people, people will say to me, oh, my mom had Alzheimer's disease, so that's it, I'm going to get it. No, it's a 1% inherited gene, and that still remains the same. So it's not to worry, because we can waste a lot of hours of our life worrying, and we need to learn to live in the moment. I'm guilty of that too. I'm sure a lot of us who are here today are guilty of that too. But it's living in the moment, and checking in with yourself, and remember, today is today. I have this moment, because nobody knows what tomorrow will bring. So now we're going to talk about dementia, and maybe our misconception is that dementia only affects older people, which is sadly not true. Although the risk of dementia does increase with age, it is not exclusive to older adults. Young onset dementia, also known as early onset, is for those individuals who are under the age of 65. And this condition presents unique challenges, as it may interfere with the person's career, family life, and social relationships during what we call our productive years, or maybe when we're going out and working and providing for family, paying bills, looking after mortgages, etc. So diagnosing young onset dementia correctly is crucial to ensure appropriate care and support. So the misconception that dementia only affects older people is prevalent and can lead to delayed diagnosis and inadequate support for those experiencing young onset dementia. It is essential to understand that dementia can occur in individuals under the age of 65, known as young or early onset dementia. So if we have a look at the slide here, we can see age of onset of symptoms is before the age of 65. So unique challenges, it's difficult to continue with usual responsibilities. Again, we're talking about those years where, we're bringing in income, maybe working up, thinking about our pensions, etc., and what, retirement and life has ahead of us. So diagnosis and recognition, delays in seeking medical attention and receiving an accurate diagnosis, because again, the misconception is, well, it can't be dementia, I'm 50 something years old, etc. So that can increase a delay in diagnosis and an impact on career and finance. That's a huge maybe loss of income due to your inability to work. And so unique care needs, support services to maintain independence and well-being, and impact on family dynamics. Spouses or partners may become primary caregivers, and also children may need to take on caregiving roles, because again, we will look back at the financial hit. You could have a young family, younger teenagers, so they may well have to take up the role of caregiving due to the costs of having caregivers in home. So while the risk of developing dementia increases with age, it is not limited to older adults, and young onset dementia, again, is for people pre-65. Some individuals may actually experience it in their 40s or their 50s, and early onset presents unique challenges, and it significantly impacts a person's career and financial stability, family life during their productive years. So the complexity of dementia, genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors. Genetics can play a role in some forms of dementia, and early onset Alzheimer's disease is an example of a form of dementia that can be hereditary. So again, I did talk about that APOE4 gene, which is 1%. So that means you have inherited, and people choose to be tested or not to see if they have this genetic makeup. particularly if they see it in other family members in their pre-65 years of age. Most cases of dementia are influenced by a combination of factors. So genetic, we had already looked at environmental and modifiable lifestyle changes. And if you remember, the modifiable lifestyle was diet and exercise, social interaction and inclusion. So risk of developing leading a lifestyle can support or lessen your risk of developing dementia, including regular exercise, a balanced diet, intellectual stimulation and social engagement. So again, maybe reading things that you wouldn't ordinarily read, taking up a new hobby, learning something new, singing aloud, learning some poetry, many different things like this, quizzes, Sudoku, crosswords, etc. So dementia is solely a genetic condition. So we know that that is not true. While genetics can play a role in some forms of dementia, such as early onset, that 1%, not all cases are hereditary. In fact, the majority of dementia cases are influenced by a combination of genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors. Leading a healthy lifestyle, including regular exercise. And again, if mobility is an issue, remember that you can sit in your chair and do chair exercises, chair yoga, chair dancing. So there's no real excuse. Your chair and yourself and a little bit of music or interaction. A balanced diet, intellectual stimulation. So again, push yourself to maybe read a little bit of Shakespeare, which I know doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of us, but just pushing yourself outside that normal realm can help. A huge part is social engagement, but we have to remember there are introverts, so maybe you join something smaller like a book club or, a quiet yoga class. If you're more rambunctious, you could do laughter yoga, which is really a very enjoyable thing to do. And all of these things can help reduce developing dementia. So the impact of genetics, environment, and lifestyle on cardiovascular health, social and emotional well-being, and cognitive reserve. Genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors all play a role in cardiovascular health, social and emotional well-being, and cognitive reserve. Understanding the impact of these factors can help us make more informed decisions. So again, that regular checkup, cardiovascular health, particularly when it comes to vascular dementia, mini strokes, which are TIAs or transient ischemic attack, smoking again, causing sluggish, oxygenation of the brain and stickier blood, etc. So all of these different things that we are able to mitigate. So in some cases, dementia genetics play a significant role. Certain gene mutations have been linked to specific types of dementia, such as familial Alzheimer's disease or frontotemporal dementia. Individuals who have a family history of dementia with known genetic mutations. So always remember 95% sporadic and don't go down the rabbit hole. These are known genetic mutations, may have a higher, and that's again the word may, not will, of developing the condition due to inherited susceptibility. So people with dementia cannot lead meaningful lives. And that's, that is a misconception, and probably something that if I look back, that I can honestly say I would have said was a true statement. But now, having worked in this field for many, many years, I know that this is not true. So that people with dementia can't lead meaningful lives. So if we look at this, living with dementia, challenging misconceptions. So people with dementia can still and do lead meaningful lives, despite that misconception that they cannot. And it is important that you and I challenge these misconceptions and recognize the capacity of individuals with dementia to enjoy a full and meaningful life. So lifestyle choices and behavior have a significant impact on how we carry on with our daily lives. So again, we talked about those lifestyle changes. Maybe somebody was a cyclist, find other ways around that. We can modify exercise classes. We see that when we go to classes, whether it's yoga classes or something. I know that a lot of the people in the class that I have attended, they use wheelchairs for mobility, but they still come, and the instructor will modify the class for them in order for them to continue to be part of it. And I think this is becoming more and more commonplace, which is wonderful to see. And it's not just around dementia, it's around people living with disabilities, whether it's mobility, vision, hearing loss. And again, we talked about that hearing loss. I encourage those on here today to go and have a hearing test, no matter what your age, because we saw that was the biggest factor. And I read it in the Alzheimer's and Dementia International Report for 2023 around hearing loss and the significance of having our hearing checked and improved with the aid of hearing aids. So preservation of identity and personhood. Well, I think this is goes for all of us, not those just living with dementia. We all do want to be recognized as who we are. We are all individuals. And although the individual may have mild cognitive impairment and change in behavior, change in acting, change in memory, we still need to preserve their dignity, identity, and their personhood as they go and walk their journey with dementia. So experiencing joy and emotion, that's something that we all need in our daily lives. So again, connecting, and remember, it's in that moment. And if that moment was fleeting, it's still a moment of joy. So we have to hang on to that. Another thing that I talk to with caregivers is, I had one caregiver tell me the other day that she went to see her husband who is living in long-term care. But he turned to her and he said, "You look beautiful today." And she said, "He hasn't said that to me for years." So I stressed to her, her name is Elizabeth, and I said, "Isn't that wonderful that Jim said?" And she said, "Yeah, I was taken aback." But I also said to her, so journal that and remember that. And she really thought that was a good idea, because it's those small moments of joy that are easy to forget when we're a full-time caregiver, or if we're somebody living with dementia. And we think that there is no meaning in life. So again, journaling together, taking photos of that moment and putting them. We all have phones. You can print quite cheaply at places like London Drugs or Best Buy or even Walmart. But creating that journal and remembering those moments of joy. As I looked with this dad here and his son who's living with Down syndrome, but you can see the joy on their faces. So capture those moments and save them. And to look back on those, whether our loved one is gone or living in long-term care, and there will be those times of guilt where you feel, have I done the right thing? Should I have kept them at home? Which is a question I'm always asked. But sometimes it comes to it that you're doing the best for you and for them and for your relationship, and then capturing moments of joy, which is so important. So yeah, I suppose meaningful relationships, we look here at a shadow, and yes, I read something the other day and I wrote it down. I have it here, and it says, none of us are entitled to life without death. So yeah, when we see these shadows and we think, yes, there's a beginning and there is an end, but it's making meaningful relationships, capturing those moments of joy, writing them down, remembering them, and making journals. And reminiscing is another great thing. When somebody is living with cognitive impairment, having books and pictures and framed pictures to look through can be very peaceful. Not, you can jog their memory. It's not to say, do you know who this is? You don't do that. You look and you point and you name the people. And memory is never 100% lost, and emotional memory is never lost. So that's a really nice activity to do, to share that with somebody. And engagement in activities, again, finding something they love. Maybe you guys have had a sailboat, maybe you used to sail around the coast of BC. Then why not go and walk on the beach? We have lovely coastlines here. So it's modifying those activities, but still embracing and going to be by the water. Or, maybe you enjoyed music, Vancouver Symphony Orchestra, afternoon plays, afternoon performances, things like that, that are not too long, but an hour of engagement. And if you have to leave early, what does it matter? You've enjoyed the time that you've spent there. So again, playing into their abilities and not their disabilities is important. And involvement in your community, like this picture is of young kids, teenagers. So creating a place of education, involving the community, involving these children from the ground up, having them understand what it's like for somebody living with dementia, so that that person can stay and live well and actively and be accepted in their community. It's doing away with the misconceptions that we've talked about, where somebody has a diagnosis. Oh, well, what care home are they going to go to? Well, that's not going to be the need if we have a community that's well educated and understand what the life of somebody living with dementia may look like. Again, person-centered care, understanding that it's individual for everybody. And the benefits of non-verbal communication. So body language is 95% of communication. So non-verbal communications, it may well be holding their hand, giving them a hug, making eye contact with them, sitting quietly with them, looking through old pictures, not having to speak, but just being present with them in that moment. And that in turn, and empowerment and autonomy. So a lot of the times, when we've dealt with the people who are looking after somebody living with a diagnosis, they still need to be empowered and have that autonomy. A lot of the times I hear them say, we went to the doctor and the doctor spoke to me about Jim's condition while Jim sat there quietly. We still need to involve Jim. We still need to give the person living with the diagnosis that choice in life while they are fit and able, and to make safe choices about their care. So again, I would, empower you to talk about advanced care planning and sit down and say, hey, mom, dad, or, your grandmother or whatever, what do you think is important to you? So it might well be that, well, I have a bath every evening, so that's important to you. I like to get my hair done once a week. That's important to you. So empowering somebody with a diagnosis of dementia is so important. And jotting down those things. It doesn't have to be something formal. It can be a nice notebook, and jotting down what's important to them, that individual care plan, person-centered care, and meeting their wishes as much as is possible is really important. And supportive care. So again, there's great supportive care for the person living with the diagnosis, and also for the care partner. When they're caring for somebody 24/7, it's nice to have a few hours away. And it's also good to have supportive care in your community with that individualized care plan. So that is supportive care. And that's something you also need, whether when we're talking about your doctor, when you go to your GPs, maybe have that minute with the doctor or the assistant there saying, can you please ask the doctor to address Jim when he's here today, because he feels like he no longer exists. So supportive care and advocating for yourself, or if you can't advocate for yourself, then ask for the support of local community resource centres. So treatment options. So medication prescription drugs can definitely help to manage the symptoms, whether they are for sleeping, for anxiety or depression, which is also common when someone is diagnosed, or for a medication to stave the progression, which again, I think the most common one, if you get early diagnosis, is a medication called Aricept. This can give you up to an additional 18 months where you do not need to have care. Therapy. So cognitive and behavioral therapy can also help to improve quality of life. So cognitive behavioral therapy, known as CBT. And there's also DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy, and it's all around the way we speak about things and how we frame things. So it's two therapies that are definitely worth looking into. And lifestyle changes, so making healthy lifestyle changes. So again, out walking, we have beautiful trails and walks here in BC. Hopefully there's one near your home. Eating a less fatty diet, staying hydrated, becoming involved in community outreach programs. We talked about looking at research trials, again, something to look at, because you will get a lot of support from those as well. And so we've come to the end of the presentation. I just want to let you know that these are the references that were used in creating today's slide presentation. And I hope today has been of help. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you next time.